2 weeks ago, he landed a 400K client, made a Facebook post with this 110K wire. You get people wins like that, then they introduce you to the biggest people they know because people like sharing what works. It's a self-perpetuating system. It's always feeding itself.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleacademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou, and boy, do we have an exciting guest lined up for you today. Today's guest is a friend of a dear friend. He is a leading global thought leader when it comes to helping people find ways to do mutually profitable and beneficial joint ventures and collaborations. I am speaking, of course, of none other than the one, the only, the legendary Charles Byrd. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Thank you, Nikki. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks for coming on the show, my brother. So, Charles, folks who listen to the show are entrepreneurs. These are the men and women who got the courage to go out there and dream and make their dreams come alive. They listen to the show not because of me. I'm here every week. They're here for you. They want to learn from you. They want to get to know you, but before they can open themselves up to you, they need to connect with you and your story. So tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Charles Byrd?
Well, let's see. So how far back to go? Just to start with, I live here in the Napa Valley with my wife and 2 lovely daughters who are 17 and 15. What I help folks with, I help you get in front of more of your ideal clients, leveraging other people's audiences and communities. I have a deal flow system and a deal flow network. So let's talk about how those things came to be. So I worked in the Silicon Valley for 15 years, was a director at $1 billion software company, left to get a taste of the entrepreneurial freedom I read about in books. Started with a low-ticket productivity course as my first product, and being new to the online space, didn't yet have a list or connections. So started going to a lot of events and connecting with people online, and quickly found my new peer group of entrepreneurs already had my ideal clients in their communities. So started setting up presentations to other people's audiences, delivering a high-value training, and offering the deeper dive course. And started growing the email list, making sales, making a positive impact. So I thought, since this is working, what if I take my IT and systems background to simplify and systematize the entire joint venture and deal flow process, which I did. And eventually people wondered how I book 2 to 6 promotions per week to other people's audiences for my products and services. And I was at a mastermind in Aspen, and my phone's blowing up with texts and messenger messages, people knocking on the room door going, how do you line up so many of these deals? So decided to put together my first high ticket event called Pure JV. And that's the market I've been serving ever since. Again, at this point, creating a deal flow system, which is a framework we can chat about, and then a deal flow network, which is a mastermind called Flow. And just following that process, I've had 15 clients who've added 1.25 to 32 million in additional revenue. 4 clients on stage with Tony Robbins, one that just got booked on Joe Rogan. Worked with Dr. Cialdini, Joe Polish is a friend, folks like that. And then our group is full of 7, 8, and 9 figure folks that really want to grow through relationship building. So that's kind of the setup and background. It was a conscious choice to develop relationships as a way to not only have a lot more fulfilling life, but to create abundance and really amplify impact.
Right on. So let's dive into your Silicon Valley background first. So what had you decide to go get into high tech?
Oh, that's kind of easy. Growing up, my dad would reinforce, go to school, get a job, go to school, get a job. And so even though we did some other fun things, like my brother and I played in a band for 15 years and so forth, but basically did just that, got a business degree, going to school in Southern Cal, in London, and finished school in Northern California, and just straight out of school got a job for Silicon Valley company on their help desk in tech. My degree was a business information systems degree. While working at the company, learned a ton of things and climbed the ladder pretty quickly, but also got a master's in IT that they foot the bill for, which worked out good. And basically ended up in higher levels of support, and then founded the project management department, got 12 of us PMP certified, created, IT is not the most glamorous work. So I created something called IT TV to keep it a lot more interesting. So do interviews and pieces on Apple, or create commercials for global enterprise-wide rollouts I was doing, to the point other departments wanted commercials that I would help put together. But yeah, I actually was happy in the tech world. Although, turns out being an entrepreneur is about 100 times more fun. So
That's awesome. So you weren't somebody who was like in love with tech. You had this desire to like become some tech guru.
well, I actually do love technology, and I love cool systems. I mean, I'm surrounded by tech and cameras and video gear and drones, and I love my Tesla almost as much as my children. I'm kidding. So I definitely have a passion for tech, but
Okay.
I also have a passion for relationship building. And what I've really done is combined really streamlined operational and tech approaches to grow relationships much faster and take them into way bigger opportunities for everyone involved. So it's taken the science of tech and systems and applied that to really grow and amplify relationships.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. But you said something that caught my interest. You said you were in a band for 15 years. Tell me more about that, man. That sounds pretty cool.
Oh yeah, my brother and I played in a band. I for the first 12 years played drums. When I went to school in England, I picked up the guitar because I couldn't bring a drum set with me. And back in the day, we would just perform traveling Europe to make money for pizza and beer. But then we started doing gigs to the point in the Bay Area here. We were doing 75 shows a year around San Francisco and Napa Valley. All original music, and yeah, lots of fun. But turns out, even with all of that fun, learning marketing pays dramatically better.
It's interesting. You ever hear of a fella named David Meerman Scott?
No.
So he's one of Tony Robbins's business mastery teachers. And he wrote a book about the marketing secrets of the Grateful Dead. And I read that book, and I got to tell you, it's fun. I interviewed him on my podcast. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever had the opportunity to interview on my show. Super brilliant guy. But he really dived deep into how the Grateful Dead from the late 60s to the mid 2020s is one of the most relevant, highest grossing bands in the world. And he went deeply into how they went around and, made a total business out of what they do. Now, they're a bunch of like hippies and not business people is what you would think. But that organization, man, that band makes millions a year, millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Focused on touring, which was
and merchant.
less about album sales and a lot more about, like, they would do tours for years. I
Yeah.
I saw them play in Las Vegas when Sting opened for them, um,
Damn.
which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. That's pretty wild. And Kevin Kelly wrote this paper called "1,000 Raving Fans." I don't know if you ever read
Yeah,
that.
I'm familiar.
You're familiar, and it's all about how using the model of a band that has 1,000 raving fans, you can make, and this was written like 15, 20 years ago, you can make six figures to seven or even eight figures a year just from 1,000 raving fans. And I've always been fascinated by bands and their ability to attract those raving fans, and always thought, wow, it'd be really cool to have 1,000 raving fans that were as crazy about my work as some of these folks are about the music of bands. I'm going to be interviewing Jim Sonfeld of Hootie and the Blowfish on my show
Oh,
pretty
nice.
soon. Yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of excited about that. And my girlfriend's good friends with Dan Hill, the guy who did Sometimes When We Touch back in the 70s and was big in the 80s, and he still writes music. And he's played at a couple of our events for our people, like serenaded them in a little mini concert. And I've always just been fascinated by folks who have that musical talent and the ability to use that to attract people. So that's why I thought it was kind of cool that you'd been in a band.
Yeah, tons of fun and lots of memories. There's one bar in Napa that one of the original bartenders still works there. So it's one of the places that I can walk in and get a warm greeting and a free drink because he remembers the back in the day.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Okay, so you had some life experience and you realized that you wanted to go out there and create a business, something that like touched your heart and let you make a lot more money and serve a lot more people. So let's get into that. What attracted you to this particular way of attracting business and generating ideal clients?
Yeah, so when I left corporate, I definitely knew I wanted to start a business, and it felt like a good time to do it because I also had a 15-year severance. So I had some buffer in making a choice like that. And people that I listen to and trust, like my dad, he was like, go get a job, get another job. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to try something different. And so basically I kind of listed out 40 things that I had interest in doing or was good at. And then I kind of narrowed that down to things I was really good at. And the list went down to like 12. And then I was like, what has brought me a bunch of value in my life that I could build something around? And so I created, as I mentioned, a productivity course was my first product. And since I was a domain expert at that, but new to business, I had tons to learn. I was showing up, pretty green from that perspective. But one of the first events I ever went to was a small mastermind with like 12 people. And like the guy across from me had a newsletter getting 90,000 downloads a month. And a guy over here named Michael was curating all these super high level people in New York. And some other guy had a bunch of businesses doing like 13 million in the room. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but I know they have audiences that my product could be a complement to. So I'm like, why not just go make friends with them because they already have the community. So I figured that out very quickly. And then it was simply like learning how to connect in a way that would lead to the opportunity to share that with their communities and audience, and then learn how to run webinars and presentations to groups. And so every time I would go through those steps, being an IT and systems person and a productivity person, I would systematize it. And in fact, one of my first big clients asked me to book all of his joint venture partnerships, which at the time I was new to. So I didn't know how that worked. And as I supported him in booking, for one, he'd been in the space a long time. So I was able to up-level my relationships really quickly because I was introduced to all of his peers and partners. And then I saw all the inefficiencies in how people were doing that work and started optimizing it and applying it to my own process to ramp up that. And then as people saw that continued success of like presenting to other people's groups 5 or 10 times a week, like most people aren't capable of doing that because they just don't know how. So since I created a framework to do it exactly, because I needed it for myself to handle that kind of volume, then other people were like, can you show me how to do that? And it's really expanded to a deal flow system where it starts by creating your unique strategy for your particular product and market to get it in front of your ideal clients, ideally leveraging warm audiences and communities to create a transference of trust and authority on that path. And so it's creating the core strategy, identifying your most profitable partners, communities, stages, lead sources, showing people how to connect to these folks that have their ideal clients, leveraging warm intros and meeting people at events and things like that. My favorite part, how to guide the conversations to land those deals frequently on the first call, operationally, how to execute the promotion type, and how to turn each one into 2 or 3 more. We also specialize in dialing a high ticket sales process and creating an irresistible offer. So it's quite comprehensive in how it supports folks. And then we just walk people through that process and watch them go double and triple and 10x that investment, because now they have a framework to continuously land deals and get warm referrals and speaking gigs and things like that.
The concept is a great concept. And as you're explaining it, I'm thinking to myself, what have I done in that regard? So I have some relationships which have leverage to get on certain stages. And those have been very profitable for us. The challenge on our end has always been how to leverage and get more of those. It's not been to execute on a process because we've got an offering. We're clear on who our people are. We're clear on what we charge. We're clear on the rev share that we offer people. My goal has been to find a way to, instead of getting 2 or 3 or 4 of those a year, double that up to 40 or 50, because that's the part I don't get how to do any more quickly. So I've been leveraging relationships. So the man who introduced us, Mike Koenigs, I kind of decided I was going to pour into Mike. So I found him an opportunity to go speak on a stage I've spoken on and quite profitably. And I showed up at the meeting. I edified Mike, and Mike got the opportunity. I mean, he's not just got to figure out a time to do it. The guy that I brought to the table is someone who trusts me a great deal. And the way I'm figuring it is, this is part of me building my relationship with Mike. So if I do 2 or 3 or 4 of these with Mike, then maybe Mike can introduce me to somebody who's got a similar stage that can potentially have me on. That's kind of what I'm thinking could happen going down the road. But that sort of thing takes time, right? I want to deliver for Mike first before I go make an ask of him. As an example.
That's the right approach. So it's always value first. 100% of the time is providing value first, and then as these things start taking shape, the truth is it can be done even faster. So, but your thinking is correct, because you're, for one, just aware of when you're in service of others, they're inherently going to be in service of you. That's like core tenet from the lovely influence book that Dr. Cialdini
wrote. Sure.
shared with the world. So can you tell me a bit more about how you've helped Mike? You edified him and so forth. What else were you doing with him?
So I met Mike at the Transformational Leadership Council. I was asked to be a speaker there. And he spoke at the same event about AI. I spoke about podcast guesting. and I liked him. I like the cut of his jib, as they say, right? So I approached him and I said, "Hey man, let's stay in touch. Love to interview you on my podcast, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "I might be able to connect you with a few folks that might be valuable to you." So I know this group here in Canada, Real Estate Investment Education Organization, 1,400 members, all pay $10K and up to be members there. And I've spoken for them a couple of times. I'm doing more things with them. I've become friends with the founder, really good friends. Know his wife, he knows my lady. And I told him, "I think I might know some people you might want to speak to." And I asked Mike, "Would you like to be introduced to this type of group to speak to them and potentially do rev share?" And he said, "Is the Pope Catholic?" "Yes, I would love to do that." So basically, and I said, "All right, I'm going to make it really easy for you. I'm not going to just do an intro and back away. I'm going to lead the call. I'm going to set up a three-way Zoom meeting. I'll host it. I'll connect you guys. I'll edify you. I'll do everything in my power to make sure this turns into an opportunity for you." And that's what I did.
Beautiful. So you can actually line up things that would be considered wins for you at the exact same time. So again, you're playing this exactly how you should. It's just you can kind of mention what you're up to and what would align on your end in the exact same conversation to where you definitely are leading with value first by offering this and teeing it up. And you're saying, "Cool, so this should be helpful there. Here's a few things I'm working on. If you happen to know anyone that would align with this, here, or I'm looking for these kind of rooms, or I'll briefly describe an ideal client and how I help them in case there's someone in your network that that would fit with that." And so basically every call I'm on, those things happen simultaneously. So you're basically halfway there. Mike sends me, he's got like this, as you would know, probably like a couple $100K offer that he helps people pivot from one industry to another. These are typically people that have exited a company or they're transitioning careers, and he helps them create an offer and positions them and gets them some media exposure and things like that. After he does that work, he sends all of those people to me because I show them how to create a systematic lead source and get booked on stages systematically and convert into actual sales and revenue. So it takes what he's helping them do in like 2 or 3 days and then gives them a way to fuel that and scale it. Mike himself is a client of mine, and we're good friends and referral partners. So yeah, I mean, if all of this has transpired with Mike recently, which it sounds like it has, I would just ping him. And he created this term, so it should work pretty good. Say, "Hey, Mike, would you be up for when you could ask how the speaking thing is taking shape and stuff, but you could say, "Hey, I'd love to jump on a call and do a referral party with you where you talk through 2 or 3 good connections for each other," and he'll send them to you straight on that call. He and I created a podcast and a book all about that process, which will complement exactly what you do, teaching people to guest podcast.
Right on.
So they go really well. Like the last, I don't know, 3 podcasts I've been on, coming off the interview before we even hang up, there's so much rapport built in the interview process, as you know, that it's a perfect opportunity to tee up connections for each other or get booked on stages, and if appropriate, if someone's aligned with it, invite them to a sales call. The last few like that come off the podcast and teed up a sales call, and then they've signed on as clients. Yeah. So it works really well, and you're at the heart of that because you have a podcast and teach people how to do guesting.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Oh, that sounds fantastic. That's a really nice way to move. Referral party. I like that. That's a great term. Um, so Charles, if someone wants to have a conversation with you about how this could work in their business, what's the best way?
Well, for one, you could go to charlesbyrd.com, BYRD. It tells a little bit about the work I do, and there's a link on there to book a conversation. And there's so many ways to tee these things up, but there's a end-to-end referral system, a process for consistently getting booked on stages. There's ways to create what I call embedded partnerships, where your product, service, or messaging is inside of other people's offers. So there's social JVs, which we're doing right now with something like a podcast interview. It's a way to share audiences and followings and ideas, and in turn, tee up connections and referrals through that process too. So, yeah, cruising over to charlesbyrd.com, BYRD. There's a little more about it and tons of people we work with and support. It works. It works so well. One of my friends and clients, Damon Burton, he does SEO work for Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, people like that. He was a referral, went through my process to learn my referral system. And he 2 weeks ago, he landed a 400K client with that and made a Facebook post with this 110K wire. And you get people wins like that, then they introduce you to the biggest people they know, because people like sharing what works. So like last night, I had a conversation with someone he introduced me to, who is the top commercial lender in the US. They lend $10 billion a year. And so I jumped on with him, and then he lined up a sales call because he wants to learn how to scale his mastermind. So it's a self-perpetuating system. It's always feeding itself.
You know, the concept's really powerful. I really like it. We're going to make sure we put your website in the show notes and encourage people to book a call with you. We like to end off each of our episodes by asking you, our guest expert, what are your top 3 expert action steps? These are your 3 best pieces of advice to help my listener and I go to the next level of success. What say you?
Okay, so relationship stuff definitely have to be at the heart of it. And that is, who are people you know, industry people you've worked with, previous clients, current clients. When someone comes to mind, that's enough reason to just ping them to say hi. Because when you're top of mind, all kinds of other opportunities come from it. So I'll give you a quick example and then get to the next point. But one of my clients, Kane Minkus, who he took from $2 million a year to $2 million a month, I know he's into tech. He's got Zoomzilla walls and cameras everywhere. The guy presents like a freight train. And so I got a new camera. So I sent him a video. I'm like, dude, I got this new full frame camera, blah, blah, blah. Because I knew he'd appreciate it. And he replies back, nice camera. Hey, I'm doing this partnership with Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank and John Assaraf and people like that. Would you like to be part of it? I didn't ask. I didn't know he was doing that. I wasn't fishing for that. I was just saying hi to a friend. And by staying top of mind, then opportunities show up. So if someone comes to mind, just shoot them a text, a voice note, say, hey, I was just on with one of your friends or clients, or you just popped to mind when I was, whatever made them come to mind. That's all you need to reference. So that's number 1. Number 2, prioritize your sleep.
Yeah.
So
that's big time.
I can tell you just from, I had a fun weekend, did big hikes through the redwoods and stuff. And Monday I was super tired. And so got a good night's sleep. Tuesday I was a rock star. I did a morning run, did weights, full on energy. And then today, because I woke up early, I'm a little more tired. And so the way those days feel is night and day. So by constantly seeking to optimize sleep, everything else in your life is going to be easier. And then the last one is keeping balance to build in fun and exercise and family time and things like that. Because if it's all just business all the time, it's actually way less rewarding. And you got to kind of wonder, what is all the work for if it's not bringing you joy and an opportunity to live a full, complete life? Because truthfully, none of us know how long we have. So you definitely want to optimize for a high quality of life. And one easy way to do that is always have at least one, if not two or three fun or family things planned in advance, because then they're always coming through. And before it winds down, line up the next one so that they're just always in the pipeline to bring, refreshment, joy, fun. It's what life's about. And when that aligns with your friends and business partners and so forth, even better. Like next week, I'll be at Burning Man. I have a bunch of work friends there too. So
That's
got
great, man.
like 12 of us going. I'll tell you a very short, brief story. One morning I woke up at Burning Man. I'm like, I want to go find Eben Pegging because I know he camps around here. Bumped into him,
Yeah.
jumped on a call. It's supposed to be 15 minutes. It went like an hour and a half. Then we scheduled another call with his whole team. I'm teeing up connections for a big launch he had. Long story short, we became friends, and just from the connections that have come through his network, it's added millions to my business. So that's an example of a couple things. One, go do fun things. Two, take the effort to build relationships and provide value first, just like you're doing with Mike, and cool things evolve. That's just how it works.
Yeah, 100%, man. Charles, I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Listener, Charles Byrd is the real deal. Definitely go to his website, charlesbyrd.com, and book a call with him. A member of his team. Relationship-based marketing and selling is powerful. It's one of the things that can absolutely take everything in your life to a better level. Take the money you bring in, the enjoyment you have out of life. Everything's better when you got great relationships and you work on them and you feed into them and you pour into them. I've always believed that. Put my money where my mouth is and invested in a mastermind around that with Kevin Thompson, which is opening my eyes to a number of things that I hadn't thought of and I hadn't been doing vis-a-vis relationships. And I've learned a ton from this conversation. And Charles, I know you and I are going to be friends and we're going to stay in touch and find ways to do stuff with each other. And listener, if you enjoyed this episode, give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review, because that'll help us with the algorithm. Charles, come back anytime and I'll be sure to make a few connections for you. I'll talk to you about them offline.
Awesome, Nikki. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's amazing guest, the one and only Charles Byrd, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or wherever you happen to listen to this episode, be it iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Audible, YouTube, Rumble, or what have you. Until next time, goodbye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.